Happy New Year, everyone. Long time no see. So, I finally gotten around to reading Scott Oden's excellent Twilight of the Gods, book 2 in his Grimnir series, and boy, do I have some thoughts. I know, this isn't the latest book in the series, the one that just came out here a few weeks ago. This is the older book, so I'm a slow reader. I don't judge me. I like to enjoy what I read and take my time to sit and process and ruminate on everything I've recently read. I read for pleasure first and for content second. So I will finish his new book, The Doom of Odin, here in a few weeks, and everything will be golden. Anyway, uh, Scott Odin is just a compelling author in that very old kind of traditional sword and sorcery vein. It often feels like I'm reading a Robert E. Howard story, but instead of Conan or Kull, we have this vengeful, ruthless, savage creature in the form of Grimnir, the last of the orcs, right? A few hundred years have passed since the last book because he's immortal and an orc, right? So this time around, the lens through which we view this grisly old monster is a girl by the name of Giza, who's this scrawny little spitfire little bird who comes from the Raven Gates, right? She is a priestess of Loki, sent to deal with Loki's immortal herald in the form of Grimnir, right? This is how Grimnir gets stuff from people. He deals with the local gates, trading on his heritage as the last of the monsters created by Loki in the Elder Days, right? And the Raven Gate seem content to give him food and drink and coin in exchange for him scaring off anyone who tries to bother them. Or he's their guardian, their protector, and probably the reason they're still around and worshipping the Norse gods despite it being like 12 or 1300 at this point. Uh, it's an interesting concept to say the least, and in so many ways. For starters, you just don't get a lot of Viking characters who openly worship Loki, of all people. It's like a whole society of tangled god worshippers, following following Loki, the trickster imprisoned beneath the earth, which is wild. I don't know how accurate it is per se, in any way, shape, or form. But it sort of follows that theme of like it's not quite accurate uh, for the history itself, but it is proud in its deviations. It's great actually that Scott Odin is able to that he has the sense to play with history by adding orcs and giants and trolls, and then giving those creatures an actual effect on the world around them. It's not purebred hardcore history, nor does it have to be. It's like alternate history, remaining accurate where it counts, right, in the heart and the core of it, while still giving us weird monsters and wizards and such. Uh, Diza, by the way, our chief point of view character, is an interesting character who deals with a lot of trauma and strife throughout the book. She's forced into this role of priestess, which she doesn't want, and she's forced to deal with Grimnir, who she hates, and is like she's often quite miserable in her role. I like her though, and I think Scott Odin does a good job at balancing those characteristics with a lot of good qualities. And in this day and age, especially, it's I find it hard to come across an actually good, strong female character, right? Uh, they seem harder to find. But Diza sort of fits into a very nice Arya meets Eowyn mold, which I very much appreciate. And when Grimnir meets her, there's like this immediate dislike, which molds into kind of a begrudging respect for one another, right? Grimnir sees the warrior in her. He sees the warrior that she can be if trained well. And that's what he does. He trains her. And obviously there's a big to-do throughout the book regarding Ragnarok and a prophecy, a spoiler alert, a false prophecy that Grimnir lives in this longhouse with a witch, a troll woman named Halla, and this witch gives the prophecy. Right? She knows all about it, foretold a long time ago, about how when a wolf and she wolf duke it out, and day gives way to night, and all this stuff, then a fissure is going to open up and reveal a cave from which this magic sword can be taken. Uh, but what we learn later is that the invading Christians, who are led by an albino psychopath Teutonic Knight guy, who's ripped straight out of an Elric story, I kid you not. They believe that they believe in the prophecy as well, for starters, but only to a certain point. See, they believe that the magic sword that they're looking for is the sword of Saint Theodore, while their enemies, the free-roaming berserkers led by an immortal one-handed warrior woman, it's a whole thing. Uh, they believe that the sword is I think if I remember correctly, they think it's the sword of Sigurd Dragonslayer. But Grimnir knows the truth. See, years and years ago, his kinsman, an orc, slew the dragon Nidhogg, and Odin, wishing to save the dragon for his own purposes, sunk the cave in which the battle took place, and it basically put it on ice for a rainy day. That's where the story kind of kicks into high gear, really, with Grimnir leaving his longhouse to do battle with the Christians and some rebellious Raven Gates and others. And he's just sort of biding his time, waiting for the right moment for the cave to reappear, right? So that he can go and finish the work his kinsman started, right? He wants to be the one to kill Nighthawk, like for good, and boy does he mean business too. It's great, really. It's a nice bloody tale of vengeance and fire and death, with a long lasting siege and a lot of heartache, right, and a lot of mystery to it, which is what I'm really getting into. Is the eerie kind of double crossing, magic-y nature of it all. Um, it's a great. There's so many nice touches, all the sorcery and trickery, and we get the Allfather Odin, right, as this sort of nefarious, morally ambiguous type of character, Neil Gaiman style. See, the prophecy isn't a proper prophecy, but it's sort of a magic ritual, I guess, designed to awaken Nighthawk from his slumber, right? Spoiler again, when Grimnir goes to fetch the magic sword at last from the dragon's skull, the the Dracolich animated skeleton of Nighthawk, the corpse eater, like rises up from the sleep of death and starts ruining everybody's day in about 100-mile radius. And you know what? It's such a crazy, wild brouhaha. I just love it. Scott Oden writes good fight scenes, just brilliantly done. And there's nothing like a fight with a dragon, especially a dragon that is cunning and refuses to die. Nighthawk escapes, and Grimnir is forced to pursue, leaving a lot of room for the next installment. And if you like orcs or dragons or Vikings or all of the above, or if you just like a good fantasy yarn, you're probably going to love Twilight of the Gods, and you're going to go racing after the next book, The Doom of Odin, following Grimnir's own impending doom and his pursuit of Nighthawk, sort of across the world. Yeah, it should be something wild, and I'm looking forward to finishing it and talking about it. But until then, definitely check out Twilight of the Gods, and go ahead and grab Doom of Odin while you're at it. They're both good, and I highly recommend them for, as I said, Viking nerds or orc nerds or various other sort of dark fantasy enthusiasts. Yeah, until then, bye.